Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what sounds like fiction but is actually a real historical event. 4 Auschwitz prisoners stole Nazi uniforms and a car. Only one of them was speaking German, so he was wearing the highest rank uniform. When they left the camp, they executed 2 patrols. First patrol, with some high-ranked guy, just hailed to them. Second patrol with 2 low-rank soldiers told them they can't leave because orders, etc. Guy speaking German started screaming at them so loud and so realistically they just said, "We're sorry, go ahead." Edit, U/Aviation Atom found a documentary/movie about this. https://vimeo.com/309750202/description. Thanks again, buddy. You're an absolute unit. Hope people too stop asking for it in comments. So they escaped. Yep. They were shot at a local bar, unfortunately. The high-ranking officer in disguise asked for 3 whiskeys using his fingers but forgot to use his thumb, which gave him away. During WW1, the German Navy built a ship and painted it to make it look like a British ship called the RMS Kamiah in order to infiltrate and destroy British convoys. On the ship's first outing, the first enemy it encountered was the real RMS Kamiah, which promptly sunk it. Spider meme. Question: are we sure it was actually the real Kamiah that won? Yes, it has since made many voyages to Argentina. In 2007, a paraglider got trapped in the updraft of 2 joining thunderstorms and was lifted to an altitude of 33,000 feet. She landed over 3 hours later about 60 kilometers north of her starting position, having survived extreme cold, lightning and lack of oxygen. That sounds scary. Imagine spending 3 hours in the sky and not being able to get back down. She was unconscious for most of it, thankfully. 33,000 feet is how high commercial planes fly. And extremely unlucky recreational paragliders. Jeannie de Clissoux, 1300-1359, was married to a French nobleman who was beheaded for treason by the French king. Enraged, she sold their estate and purchased 3 black warships with red sails, and became a pirate queen of the English Channel who targeted French ships. She became known as the Lioness of Brittany, and in her 13 years of piracy she would slaughter every member of a ship's crew except for one so that last survivor could go back and tell the French king what had happened. Why do I feel like the 1300s never get talked about? They focus on the Black Plague. Everything else gets lost by the wayside because that was so massive. Badass. Badlass. The Great Molasses Flood of 1919, a tank filled with 2 gallons of molasses burst and sent a tidal wave of molasses through the streets of Boston. 21 people were killed. Imagine standing in the streets as a tidal wave of molasses approaches and just thinking to yourself, well, I guess this is how it ends. Death by molasses. Talk about a sweet release. Edit, Samuela did a video on non-water floods. He includes the molasses one too. That's where I got the joke from, lol. I was listening to a podcast about this once and a little boy watched his mom and his brother drown in the molasses while he tried to surf over to them on a bed that was floating, but he couldn't get over to them fast enough. Fuck. Also, the people in the town would constantly complain about the tank because they saw it was leaking and might explode. They responded by just painting the tank brown so people wouldn't see it leaking. Apparently if you go to this spot in Boston in the summer, you can still faintly smell the molasses. Edit, I will retract the last statement. I've gotten plenty of messages saying that's an urban legend. Apparently that area just smells like butts. That smell is an urban legend. Or ghost story if you will. I've lived in Boston. It smells like anything but molasses. I looked it up. Wikipedia says it was referred to locally as the Boston Massacre. Nice to know they could keep a sense of humor. Timothy Dexter was frequently given terrible business advice that would somehow through a stroke of luck pay off. He sold coal to Newcastle and made a profit. He became insanely wealthy, dressed in a strange manner, and acted weird in the company of the incredibly wealthy elite he had accidentally stumbled into. He spent a lot of time basically gaslighting his own wife for his own amusement. For quite some time he acted as if she had died and was a ghost, even introducing her to other people as his wife's ghost. He at one point even faked his own death so he could see how people would react at his funeral. He also wrote a book that was a long-winded rant about everything that upset him. The book included no punctuation. He made a second edition with several pages of punctuation attached to the end that the reader could distribute as they saw fit. Basically a real-life shitpost. That the reader could distribute as they saw fit. Or as he actually spelled it, pepper and salt it as they please. I think this is my favorite. The escape from Antarctica by the members of the Antarctic expedition led by Ernest Shackleton. The stuff they went through was unbelievable. Their boat, the Endurance, was crushed by ice floes. They were stranded on the floes for over a year in temperatures well below freezing. They then took to 3 boats around 22 feet in length across the Antarctic Ocean looking for land. There were about 10 men in each boat. They missed reaching land by just a few miles at times. 2/3 of them got stranded on Elephant Island surrounded by ice while one of the boats went out in search of rescue. That boat made it through the Drake Passage, one of the deadliest places in the ocean. All but 3 of them got stranded with little food and water while the 3 men who left became the first people to cross South Georgia on foot. They found civilization. Rescued the men who came through the Drake Passage. Waited months until they could rescue those on Elephant Island. Every single person who came on the initial voyage survived, with the worst lasting consequence being a single foot amputation. I am shocked that this has not been made into a major movie or mini-series. There is a fantastic documentary called The Endurance. The trip was partially funded through shooting wildlife footage, so they happened to have cameras. Unbelievable images of their experience. Highly recommend it. An English king named Ethelred, later called the Unready, took some troops to defend against a Viking invasion. The weather was bad, so a lot of the Vikings' ships crashed as they were landing. Ethelred thought that it would be dishonorable to attack them as they were stumbling onto shore, so he kept his troops back until the Vikings had a chance to get together and form proper battle lines before he attacked them. The better prepared Vikings then won the fight and slaughtered a bunch of Ethelred's men, and he and the rest were forced to run away while the Vikings went around pillaging. Also, his sobriquet does not mean unready in the modern sense, as in unprepared, but rather ill-advised. Ethelred, the name meaning well-advised. A hilarious pun. The battle for Castle Itter near the end of World War II saw US soldiers, French POWs, and the German army fighting on the same side to hold the castle against an SS tank division. To make it even weirder, the French prisoners included several prime ministers and a tennis star. A tennis star, 2 prime ministers, 2 French generals, a former SS officer and Charles de Gaulle's sister. Someone get Tarashio on the phone, he needs to work on this. Apparently a movie about it is / was in pre-production. I'd still like to see the Tarashio version, though. Hilariously, this article is titled The Battle of Itter Castle, the day when reality exceeded Tarashio. They refer to the story of Castle Itter as a real Tarashio adventure that no one has told yet. Jack, https://wiki.org/wiki/jack_left_baboon right, a baboon who was employed to change rail signals. After initial skepticism, the railway decided to officially employ Jack once his job competency was verified. The baboon was paid 20 cents a day, and a half bottle of beer each week. It is widely reported that in his 9 years of employment with the railroad, Jack never made a mistake. An official investigation was initiated after a concerned member of the public reported that a baboon was observed changing railway signals at Uterhage near Port Elizabeth. Can you fucking imagine? Yes. In my mind I'm imagining a drunk man on the train. He looks out the window, sees the baboon, looks back inside. Suddenly, shakes his head in disbelief and looks outside again. Sure enough, the baboon is right there. He looks at the bottle in his hand and then begins to pour it out. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a novel in 1838 in which 4 shipwrecked survivors, at the point of starvation, choose to resort to cannibalism. So they kill the young cabin boy, Richard Parker, and eat him. In 1884, a ship called the Mignonette sank. 4 crew members survived. At the point of starvation, they killed and ate the youngest of them, Richard Parker. The inspiration for the tiger's name in Life of Pi. The Great Stink was an event in central London in 1858. The hot weather exacerbated the smell of untreated human waste and industrial effluent that was present on the banks of the River Thames. https://wiki.org/great_stink#media. The Great Stink led to London building its sewer system. Only because the MPs could smell it in Parliament. Common folk had complained about how smelly it was for a while. The government did fuck all until it started affecting them. Nothing's changed. Mad Jack Churchill, the man with the only confirmed longbow kill in World War II. Guy and his squad did a death march towards the Germans while playing bagpipes, got captured and sent to a concentration camp. He then escaped, got caught again, and then escaped a different concentration camp. Also, he always carried a Scottish logsword with him. There's so much other weird shit he did after the war, and it's amazing to me that he's entirely real. If you think Mad Jack Churchill was crazy, go read up on Adrian Carton de Wyatt. This man bit his own finger off to get back into combat, swam away from a plane crash one-handed, and considered a war in which he was shot in the head and lost a hand and an eye to have been good fun. https://wiki.org/Adrian_Carton_D_Wyatt. Well. Can you imagine the Grim Reaper turning up each time and muttering, "Fuck's sake, this guy again, look, I'm a busy person, call me when you actually ready to die."